Welcome to Dark Side Adventures, an 18 and older, not safe for work podcast, where we explore the dark side of sex, the world of kink, fetish, and the BDSM life story.
Could you imagine us on somebody else's show?
Oh, that would be freaking crazy. That would be intense, for sure. A little intimidating.
Yeah, no, for real. So, essentially what this article is obviously it's a review of the movie 50 Shades of Grey by, like, a real dominatrix.
Okay.
But, she has a good couple of funnies. She says, I saw Christian Grey was mentally ill, a singular character who enjoys torturing women and who prey upon naive, impressionable girls.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yes and no. Yeah, we'll keep going. This is another representation of male dominance over women that perpetrates sexist ideas. That sex is something that men do to women, never exploring a woman's pleasure or fantasies. So why not just say that, you know, what the movie was really about, a sadistic sociopath who hates women and leaves BDSM out of it. Christian Grey claims he's like this because he's 50 shades of fucked up. Well, that goes double for this film. I mean, that's fair.
That is fair.
I mean, all of us, or at least, like, both of us, I guess, can agree that, like, it wasn't necessarily even, like, a kink movie.
No, not really. Well, I would. That goes kind of along with, like, my article of, like, the difference between kink and fetish, where it says basically the difference is, like, a kink is just something you do to kind of spice up the bedroom, where a fetish is something that you have to have in order to get sexual pleasure. Like, the actual thing is what brings you sexual pleasure.
I guess I never saw it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense on why people, like, you know, or it was like that old, like, I don't know, I heard, like, a weird story, like, a while back of, like, a lady, like, orgasming every time she brushed her teeth. Like,
yeah, I've heard that too. Like, there's some people who are like, I mean, what's the rule? What is it, like, Rule 57 or Rule 56? Like, if you can think it, it's already been sexualized. It's already out there. I don't remember what rule it is, but, you know. So anything can be kinky and anything can be sexually arousing to anyone. It's whether or not you can enjoy the sexual pleasure without those things.
yeah, I mean, the more and more I think about what is, like, real fetish, it kind of scares me, because it's like, you know, you do things every day, like, obviously, like, drink a soda or, like, drink water. And, like, to think about, like, somebody shoving that up their butthole, like, it's scary, because, like, everything now has, like, basically been ruined for me, like, that's been sexualized, like,
Yeah.
you know, now it's, like, even going into dressing rooms, like, you know, because people do, like, the weird stuff where they have sex in dressing rooms, like, am I going to say that somebody's, like, dick butter is the nice way to put it, like, or vaginal secretions, you know?
Yes.
So, but, no, like, this one, I mean, the article it's actually pretty short, but she was basically saying that, you know, the 50 Shades of Grey was really 50 Shades of shame, and I guess I would agree, but this last little tidbit is the 50 Shades of Grey. It says the film grossed over $85 million in the first weekend. Proof that the positive people are looking for some kinky fun in their lives. And kink is out of the shadows and into a mainstream conversation. Which, I guess, is the reason why we gotta have this show.
Exactly. No, I agree with that last part. Like, kink has become it's been pulled further and further out of the shadows and become a little bit more mainstream, which I think is actually a really good thing, because, you know, if you're doing it safe and you're doing it with knowledge, then yeah, that's a great thing to have more mainstream, because, well, I'm watching Bridgerton and on Netflix, and one of the girls just got married, and she doesn't even know, like, she didn't know what sex was, she didn't know what masturbating was, she didn't know how to make a baby. Like, she knew none of that. And of course it's going to cause some drama, and it causes issues, and it's thought of as, like, this dirty thing. Whereas now, it's becoming a little bit further out of there, and we'll get, I think, by it becoming more mainstream and more popular, I think that, in general, I will hopefully bring about better sex education in general. Not even just kink, but in general.
We'll have to do, like, a show on, like, technically, I guess the whole show is, like, sex ed, but we gotta do, like, a show, like, on the basics of sex ed, like, like contraception.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds stupid, but it's true, like.
Yeah. No, everybody jokes about getting the birds and the bees awkward conversation with your parents, but how many of you actually get it, and how many of you, like, again, on Bridgerton, the mom went to go give her the sex talk, and she was like, well, you just know. Remember how we used to have dogs, and then we had puppies? You just know. That's not...
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't. So, you know, I definitely agree that we need some sex ed in a non-kinky fashion as well. So.
Daytime sex ed, what your teacher should have told you.
I like that one. I like that title.
Oh, man. We'll have to start, like, getting some statistics as well. Just, like, you know, I guess, like, when people are starting to have sex, how early people are starting to have sex. Maybe, like, what is making or is making sex so enticing at a young age. Because, I mean, when you're that young, I feel like it's just like a puberty thing. You know, it's like, you got the range of hormones. Like, please, God, let me, help me.
Well, and then you, like, find out, like, I mean, it's probably easier for boys than girls in an extent. Because, like, all of a sudden you have this raging boner, and you brush against something, and you go, oh, that feels good. What else can I do that feels good? Because it's a little less covered, because it's not hidden between your legs. You don't have to ride the pillow.
I was about to say the pillow hoppers.
Right? I do have to say, I tried it once, and I was like, I don't get anything out of this. I don't, because I saw it on some movie, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that feels good. I got nothing out of it. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's just a movie thing.
Well, I mean, besides the pillow, they got the couch arms, and
right. I know a girl who used the side of her tub. She would, like, straddle the tub half in and half out and use the side of it.
Oh, that's... See? Look at y'all being resourceful. Guys, it's just like, alright, Mother Mary, we need you. Mother Mary and her 5 sisters. Okay, well, the topic of the night, which I'm currently trying to sum up those topics right now, is what is kink, and how did you get to basically get into kink?
Ooh, yes. Well, do you want to start, or do you want me to?
I'll take a shot at it.
Okay, go for it, Edwin.
Okay, so what kink is to me is it's like a dark desire that you are 100%, and I mean this just for like everybody, you're 100% sure that, man, nobody else must have this weird, desire. Maybe it's only me. Come to find out that you're always wrong.
Always.
Because it's like you were saying earlier, where if you think about it, it's already been sexualized or, kink-esque. So it's kind of weird on how, like, your kink pop up or they find you.
Yeah.
So, like, what do I find kinky, right? So I find things that are, like, very, alternative or very like dark or even just like mysterious to be like very kinky. So like alternative girls or gothic girls, right?
Yeah.
They got like the very like dark-esque, like grungy look. Sometimes even like the punk rockers do. But you're kind of like unsure, but they're also kind of like rough in a certain way.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like a kinky thing. But to me, like that's a kink, you know, having that dark, mysterious girl, or what's like a weird kink. I guess a kink for every man is lingerie, but sometimes it's what kind of lingerie. Like I like more of the chain-esque things than just like the straps.
Okay.
Yeah,
something
definitely.
you'd find at a Spencer's or a Hot Topic rather than Victoria's Secret.
Yes, very much so. And let's see here. How did I get into kink? That's a good question. The first, like, I don't know, the first, like, porn, but it would be like, I'd be watching, like, rope porn and more of, like, the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like, I come to realize that I really like the heavier stuff a little bit more, so, like, the rope play and, like, obviously, like, the bondage, more than anything else. But then, the more and more you get into it, the more and more you surprise yourself. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because some of the things that I was watching, I never really thought I would ever do in my personal life.
Well, I know that, like, as I started to get into it, I realized, like more and more doors open, and I was like, that's possible? That's a thing? Oh, I like that. Let's try this. What about that? And really, there's no limit on it.
And that's the weird thing is, like, it's, the more you find out, obviously, the more stuff pops up. But, just realizing that, like you said, like, people actually do this stuff, like, outside of the bedroom. Like, I can be doing this in real life.
Right.
And then it scares you, I guess, like, whenever you do it, like, the first time, handling your kink. But that was, that basically is the gist on how I got into it. It's, I was watching, some adult videos. And, I just kind of came across, who was it, the first one? I think it was, like, Rachel Starr, who I guess was one of my favorites at the time. She had did, like, a bondage video, and then from there, like, it was just kind of, like, bondage central, like,
spiraled from there.
Right. It'd be rope, and then they'd have, like, water and shit, then they have, like, the like, the wands and shit, like, it's wild.
Yeah, it is definitely a wild world. Slight slide to the left. I found the rule. It's rule number 34.
Oh, rule 34.
Rule 34, which is, if it exists, there is porn of it.
Rule number 1, rule 34. Rule number 2, safety.
There's always someone that enjoys that.
Right.
So kink to me is kind of a way of life. It's a lot of fetishes that I enjoy. So kink to me is, I don't know, I feel like it's a way of life. Sums it up so well for me, but I know others wouldn't understand that.
Chocolate is a way of life.
It's a way of life. It's part of who I am. It's something I really enjoy. It's something that has drawn me to it from a very, very young age. Looking back now, like, I thought I didn't get into it until I was like 17. I stumbled across a chat room that was BDSM focused, and totally lied and was like, yeah, I'm totally 18. It's fine. It's not fine. Wait till you're 18. I do not condone children in this, but looking back at it now, I realize that it's like something that's always been a part of me. Like, I remember having very vivid dreams of being like a sex slave, or like having very kinky, rough sex with bondage and impact, and I remember being aroused at the thought of like Chinese waterboarding. And so looking back at it now, it was much younger than I thought it was.
Was it something that you saw, or it was just kind of like...
So it started off as dreams, and then I was curious about it.
Wait, it started off like vivid dreams, like you would dream
like
this
vivid dreams. I would dream about this stuff. Like one I remember was I had been captured somehow, and so I was stuck in this room with all of these other ladies, and we were all forced to like there was one where I was like bound to a table and we were forced to do whatever, or like we were like built into a wall. Like, don't ask me how it works, but it was like stocks, like old fashioned stocks, but like around my waist and built into a wall. And then basically it was like a glory hole gangbang. And so like,
oh my God. And what age was this?
I don't even remember how young I was. But I would have them and then I'd be like, that's weird. And I would just move on. And then I was like, 10 or so. And I was at my grandparents' house and I had unfiltered access to the computer and the internet. And so I started looking into it. And I was like, what is this? Like, why am I dreaming this? Why am I so weird? This isn't right. And then I found like, I think the first porn site I found was probably Pornhub, and then I kind of scrolled around there, and then I ended up on one, and it was about like inserting larger objects, and like how large you could insert.
Insertation?
Yes, and so like that got me for a little while, and then I started finding stories about it, and it just continued from there. And then I would like feel guilty about it because I was like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And so I'd stop for a while, but then it like, again, the dreams were there and it was just like plagues my thoughts all the time. So I would come back to it and I would just dive deeper and deeper and find all sorts of other things. And then at one point I stumbled across Kink.com, I think, with the story of O.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I stumbled across that and I was like, oh, I like this a lot. And so, again, it just broadened my perception of what was out there. So that's how I got into it. And that's my first experiences as a young child. And then like I said, I stumbled upon a chat room when I was 17. And that just steered me into because there's a big difference between, like, kink and fetish and porn and real-life kink. Because, like, porn itself, it's a movie. They have directed it to look that way. Whereas in real life, you're going to have some issues. You're going to have some giggles. You're going to have some... It's not quite the same. And so the chat room kind of steered me into a more realistic view of what it would be. And then I felt guilty, so I got out of it for a while. And then I found FetLife when I was like 18, 19. And
the age that all of the young women
young women find it, yes. I actually, one of the guys in the chat room that I had been speaking to when I was younger, when I was 17, was like, oh, you should try this website. And I was like, I don't know, I'll think about it. And so I did never get on it until later. Because I was like, I just feel like that's too far. And so I didn't until later. And then my like first kink experience with bondage and I think it was just nipple clamps, but was a guy I met on FetLife, which turned out a lot safer than it could have.
Yeah, especially being that young.
Yes.
But it's like, I mean, now, like, you know, at first glance, of course, especially on a website, like, it's always, you're uncertain of what could go on or what could happen. Like, you know, at first, actually, we should probably actually go into it. Just kind of first time we actually, or met somebody in real life that, like, did Kink, of course. Sorry, I realized my microphone was on top of my head. So, sorry about that, everybody. Oh, God. But,
should we warn
no.
them now? We've got no equipment. We're on computers and old microphones, so...
Yeah. It's going to be like this for a little while, guys. But, no, we should actually probably, talk about that, the first time that we, either met up with somebody to do kink, or maybe even, saw somebody actually do kink in real life.
Yeah, we can definitely go into that.
You want to go first?
I will let you go again. I feel like I talked for a long time.
No problem. So, let's see. The first time I met up with somebody on FetLife. I got on FetLife at the age of 23. But I wasn't
so old. Just kidding.
I know. I started late. I don't know. I had a whole bunch of things happened to me. So I found out obviously about bondage and whatnot at 15. But I didn't think girls actually did stuff like that. I figured it was just just like you said, it was just kind of a weird taboo thing.
Right, like a porn gimmick to make
right.
Money. Yeah.
And then you realize that actually people meet up and do things all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the age of 23, I first signed up for FetLife. I was actually with my very first girlfriend. I would consider that a true girlfriend. You know what I mean? You have little things back in the day, but nothing like that. So I was with my very first girlfriend, and we were having sex, but for some reason I didn't feel like it was a porn addiction per se, but I always felt the need to come back and watch bondage. There was just something about it that I don't know, like you said, it was satisfying.
But it could have been even more satisfying with bondage or something.
Yeah, it's just things I wanted to do. I would sometimes be rough, with my girlfriend, and then it wouldn't she wouldn't like it, that rough. It was more of kind of a softer, type of sex, which I mean is okay sometimes, but sometimes you kind of want to get in there and realistically manhandle your woman,
Yeah.
And so at some point, like I said, when I was 23, let me just go back because I feel like I'm going off on tangents. But at 23, I signed up, and I was kind of looking through, but I didn't really realize how FetLife worked. At this point, I still hadn't met up with anybody or seen anybody realistically do kink in real life. I knew friends that were kinky and stuff like that, but they weren't. Basically, what we do kind of puts them to shame,
Right, their kink was oh, let's put some Cool Whip on your body and lick it off, or let's dress up as people and talk in an accent.
Right, or they might wear a butt plug with a tail,
right?
But
or the
it's not
handcuffs.
Yeah, it's nothing hardcore. So
yeah,
and so for years, I had started kind of looking in to kink, but once again I was always scratching the surface. So I kind of knew what things were and seen things, but it was to the point where when I actually saw it in real life, it was kind of scary. And I'll actually go into the first time I met up with somebody was after I had broken up with that girl. It had been a year and a half after that. I had been on FetLife and I was just kind of looking. Well, some guy was on there and it was hey, doing a group play type thing. And I had no clue, what to really expect. I figure, group play, once again, I was naive. I figured they were all, hanging out, playing a game or something. So...
sure is a little different.
Yeah, definitely. So, I hit them up and, obviously, I go over there and, I was kind of, eerie. I was is this, why is this happening? And, it's, mind you, it's, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh,
and he's having, obviously, I guess, people over. And so, I'm okay. I was man, I hope nothing happens. So, I'm, freaking out. I'm scared. My feet are sweating. Just, the weird shit. And finally, like, I calm down, I get in the car, I go over there, and, the guy's outside, I'm looking at him, he looks like, a fairly young guy, come to find out dude's like 34. And so, I walk inside, and it's like, after he's like, talking to me, I guess he's trying to like, vet me out to make sure, everything's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk inside, and, there was nobody else in there except for like his girl, and his girl, like, she was tiny. She couldn't weigh more than like maybe 115 pounds, 120 pounds. And, and, we just kind of started talking and whatnot. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, where's everybody at? Like, I thought y'all were like playing games or something. And so
playing games.
He kind of looks at me and he was like, yeah, so this is actually like, like group play, like, meaning like sexual group play. And I'm just like, oh God. I was like, what have I stepped into? I was like, it was something that I kind of like wanted to try, but I thought they were just called orgies, like, just normal people. Well, come to find out, I guess there's clearly a difference between those two, but, anyway, so, we sit down and we just start talking, and, he's like, hey, we're just kind of looking for, basically like an extra person, so essentially it was a threesome.
Okay.
So, it took me 2 hours to feel comfortable enough. Mind you, I got over there like 1:30,
Oh, that's late.
40. And finally, like, I was comfortable, and then that was like my first, like, FetLife meetup experience.
Nice.
Oh man, that was scary.
I bet it was, just kind of showing up and not realizing what they meant by group play.
Right, and it just kind of goes to show you, like, how naive, like...
Yeah.
So,
that's fantastic. I remember the first time I went to, like, a dungeon and saw things, and I thought, I was like, oh, it's fine. I know what I'm getting into. I know what's going to happen. It's fine. And I felt like a wide-eyed baby doe staring down some headlights. There was a lot going on. So...
Ooh.
It's one of those things.
It's story time.
Oh, it's my story time. Yeah. I had gone on FetLife, and at the time I was working graves, and then I'd get off work at like 6 a.m., and then I would spend I was at a hospital working graves, so I would spend a couple hours in the cafeteria at the table studying, and then I would go to college, which was across the street from where I was working, and then... So I'd get off at work at like 6:30 a.m. and then my first class was at 10:30. So I'd study for a few hours and then I'd get home about 1, 2 o'clock, go to sleep and repeat. So this guy reached out to me on FetLife and was like, oh, we should meet up sometime. And I was like, and he's like, like offering to play. And I was like, I thought I was being smart. And I was like, oh, I don't play the first time I meet anyone. I need to meet you first. Which is a smart thing. But then he's like, okay, well, I'm free now. It's like 6 a.m. I was about to get off work. He's like, well, I'm free now if you want to come over before school. And I was like, sure. So I go over to his house, and he feeds me breakfast. And I sit on his huge love sack, and we kind of chat. There was no negotiating, or there was no real vetting because I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, okay, you seem like a cool guy. I gotta go to school now. So I went to school, and then like later that week, I went back when I was off work, and we played. So it turned out a lot better than it could have.
You didn't get kidnapped, so yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get kidnapped. We did not hit my limits, although we never discussed my limits. We never discussed safe words. We never really discussed what the scene would be. So he did ask before he ever used anything. He had like a weight bench that I ended up laying on, and he like tied off my arms and then just used like a vibrator and like a call it a dildo saw, and it's not that. It's like it's like a fucking machine. So I was like, I don't know what it is. Words escapes me. But so yeah, that's what we did for the first scene, and then there was nipple clamps, and that was like as intense as it got. And then we finished. There was a little bit of cuddling, and then I was like, oh, I have to go to work. I have to go to class, because it was like a Thursday night into a Friday morning, and I had class at like 7 a.m. Very, very grateful it turned out the way it did, because that can go way wrong. So.
Vanilla sex, I don't know, it makes you question a lot of things, you know. Yeah. Especially, like, you know, for the people that... I feel like that's why it's hard to date now, because even if you find, like, a good person, you know, it could end up being, like, you know, something's not matching sexually, or maybe even, like, kinky desires, you know.
Definitely hard. And I'm going to say, there's nothing wrong with enjoying vanilla sex. Absolutely nothing wrong. But it definitely is different than kinky sex, and not everybody, just like not everybody can enjoy something kinky, not everybody can enjoy vanilla sex, and that's okay.
Definitely. Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, how do I up my sex life, but, you know, tell my husband, or, you know, whatever it may be, or, you know, how do I want to up the sex game and tell my wife, you know, it's... Or not even wife, it could be like girlfriend, or just like, you know, fuck buddy, or whatever it may be. So,
or whoever you're currently having sex with.
Yeah, agreed.
So, or wanting to have sex with. Like, how do I broach this topic of, oh, I enjoy feminization, or I enjoy kink, or I enjoy impact, or I enjoy rope, or whatever it is. How do I approach that and not have them run screaming? So.
Maybe that'll be the next topic. I actually kind of like that. So
yeah. So well, you would be surprised at how many people out there are either open to learning about kink, or are also kinky already and just don't know how to broach it with you.
Oh yeah, true. So I feel like that's why a lot of people like. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but. A lot of sex problems can be solved if, you know, sex were a little bit spicier.
Yeah.
But the problem too is, you know, like any hole you start to dig or start to climb down, you start going deeper down that hole, and, you know, we gotta like do something on like where do you stop, or when do you stop? Do you stop?
Yeah.
You know, like. Because, I mean, kink is always like a learning lesson. There's always something new to learn. But at what point is too far? Is there a too far?
I think it depends on each relationship. Because that's where those limits come from. That's where those hard limits and those soft limits come. And that's where your safe word comes in. Because
that's true.
Those are important things. Because you can be in the middle of a scene, or you can be in the middle of having sex, and then you can realize that you are overwhelmed and you are not able to process any of this, and this is too much for you. And that's where you have that communication, whether it be a safe word, or whether it be, I'm overwhelmed, we need to stop, or a hand gesture, or whatever it is. That's where that comes into play. Because sometimes you think that's something you can do, and sometimes it is something you can do, and sometimes it's not. So.
Well, when you have, let's run the question. Let's say you're having intercourse, and obviously, like, you know, we're grown enough, you know, we've had sex over the years, but, like, is it every partner has to have kinky sex, or is it just like you're still okay with having, like, you know, regular sex sometimes? So, I mean, I'll answer the question first. For me, like, I kind of like both, so it makes me want one or the other. Because sometimes, like, you don't always want to pull out the paddle, you don't always want to pull out the flogger, You always want to pull out the nipple clamps or, the clothespins or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you just want to fuck, like, that's just where, the regular, normal sex comes in. It's like, man, just like, let me plow something, or, just let me get it done. And then there's other times where it's like, you're having just like normal regular sex, and like there's that want for like, man, it'd be good if like, if I was choking her and like spitting in her mouth, shit like that. So, some people like, casual sex, but I feel like they get so caught up with, either casual or super kinky sex that they kind of forget about the other.
It's true. I think they both kind of have their place. I mean, for me personally, in my relationship, we don't typically have what I would consider vanilla sex, simply because my partner and I are master and slave. We always have that submission in there. So whether toys are pulled out or not, I'm always submitting to his will, enjoyably, always submitting to his will when we have sex, even if it would look typically vanilla to somebody else who might be watching.
Yeah.
So, but is there the place for vanilla looking sex, or for sex without toys, or for sex without instruments? Absolutely. Absolutely there's a place for that. I think that answered your question. Maybe I went off on a tangent that didn't really answer it.
No. You definitely answered it. I mean, like you said, in your eyes, like, y'all have more kinky sex than you do, like, casual, but in that sense, you're saying there's nothing wrong with it, so you're basically on both sides, which is good.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you can be on one side or the other, which is good, too. Yeah. So, there's no wrong answer. It's just kind of, I feel like, preference, but...
Exactly. I have a friend who only does vanilla sex, and I have a friend who only does kinky sex.
Mm-hmm.
They can only, I have one friend who will only orgasm when they are able to, they have to have something covering their face. Whether it be a mask, or panties, or a hand, or whatever, they have to have something covering their face to be able to orgasm.
Watch out for that pillow.
Right?
No plastic bags, please. Yeah, safety first.
Right. Safety first. Or if you're going to play with plastic bags, make sure you have a partner who is very aware, and you have something for that partner to cut off that bag. Because breath play is fun, death is not.
Agreed. I mean, there's other, ways for, breath play as well, but...
There is. There is, but if you choose to go that route, or even if you choose to go with body bags, because those are fun sometimes, make sure you always have a safety out, because yes, not everything that's kinky is going to be safe. That's where the, RAC, risk-aware consensual kink, comes into play.
Risk-aware consensual kink, we'll have to, start giving some, what are they called? Those,
The acronyms?
Yeah, the acronyms. Jesus, I lost it. I wanted to say antonyms. I was like, no, that's not right.
No, that's the opposite. So, yeah. Risk-aware. So, I think the 3 most popular ones, or most used ones, are risk-aware consensual kink, which is RAC. There's SSC, which is safe, sane, consensual, and what's the third one? PRICK, PRICK. Personal responsibility informed consensual kink. So those are the 3 that are most people will know one of those. So I guess we never really introduced ourselves. Do we want to take a minute and introduce our names?
Oh, yeah.
And stuff?
Oh, yeah. So I am Edwin, and I have had, I would probably actually say the last main 4 years of my life, like, actually in the kink community. And I say that in the kink community, like, I've always, like, read about kink and, like, known about kink, like, obviously from, like I said, from the age of 15 finding out. But, actually in the community and, like, actually, like, fully learning things is, the past 4 years. So, currently, obviously, like, in Texas. So Texas proud, stand up. I'm currently 31. So, my current goals, I guess, for kink is, I really do like rope play, but I don't necessarily like shibari. Like, I mean, I like the look of shibari and, like, the act of shibari. But as far as, like, me doing it, I feel like that it would take a lot of time. So currently what I want to do is, like, just do rope designs. Just because I feel like it's very expressive. And plus, whatever, wherever you start, there's no wrong place to start in rope.
Sorry. I have a meme for you. I don't think... Sorry, side note. I have a meme for you about rope that makes me giggle that I should send to you.
Okay, yeah. You can put it in the theme of Bopper.
Right, I'll put it down below or in the description or somewhere so everyone else can see it too. It's funny. Sorry, I interrupted. Continue.
But, let me see. As far as other introductions, I mean, me personally, this is kind of like every day-to-day life. I mean, I enjoy being active. I enjoy being outside. Currently, I do work pest control, so I have to deal with rodents.
Yuck.
So, yeah, so it's kind of weird, like, just hearing about people and what they do, like, on their normal life, but, but obviously, like, you kind of see how it transitioned into kink life. It's just, like, some personal things that you do, or the way that you do things, or the way that you talk to people, or just, like, little things that you notice about people that, like, that you could tell they're in the kink community. So, it's just kind of weird.
It is weird. It's always kind of fun, because, I mean, I love people watching anyways, but, like, people watching and try to figure out if they're in the kink world or not. That's always an adventure.
Oh, yeah. And some people just straight up tell you, like, the other night, I was with, my submissive, her name is Jasmine. We've been, like, had a dynamic for, I guess, the past, like, 6 months, so it's been cool. But she's, like, she's had, like, doms before, but it's more of just been kind of, like, it seems more of, like, verbal doms, like, here, you're gonna do this, or, just, like, weird, like, kinky stuff, but never, like, an actual, like, physical dom where I'm actually, like, doing things to her.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, no, it really does make a difference. But, with that, like, I'm currently, like, still learning things. So it's nice to actually, like, one, have this podcast, because I feel like it's gonna, like, help me in the, once again, long-term goal, which is, like, get better at kink and get, obviously, like, more knowledgeable. But two, I can actually give people, like, hey, first-hand experience, like, hey, I tried this, and I don't know about it.
That's fair. It's very fair.
But, no, I do hope, like, this is one of those things that, like, definitely grows into, like, something beautiful, and like we were saying, like, if it doesn't grow into shit, oh, well, we did it.
Yeah. At least it meant something to us, and hopefully it'll mean something to the listeners, too.
Agreed. Or at least give somebody a laugh,
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take somebody laughing.
So, that's about me. What about you, young lady?
Well, I am Coco. I am 26 years old, and I live in what my family calls the frozen asshole of America.
Facts.
Also called Michigan, where it is 30 degrees and currently snowing. I miss Texas. I miss the sun of Texas. I've been up in Michigan since August of 2020, so just a couple months now. I am in a relationship and a power exchange dynamic. Like I said, we are master and slave. I'm very happy we've been together for 3 years now, almost 3.5 years, so almost 4 years. And let's see, some goals for the year. I'd love to see this podcast flourish. Definitely, it would be something for both Edwin and I to learn something, and hopefully it helps somebody else too.
Yeah, true.
I have some personal goals in my relationship and building that. It's been really different moving from a long distance to in the same town. So I definitely want to build and grow on our in-person relationship. I also have a goal to start hiking some more. I want to do, I want to do 1,000 miles this year. Some of it backpacking overnight, some of it just easy stuff.
Maybe we'll have to have you do some recording on your phone, or get you a GoPro or something so you can record the trail.
Yeah, I'll get some pretty pictures out there. Michigan is gorgeous, and there is so many trails out here. And I'm not too far from Illinois or Ohio or Canada when that border opens again. That I'm sure there'll be plenty to explore. Yes.
Yeah, I mean and with everything, of course, it could change, and just seeing us go from what kind of starts off as rough and may seem unorganized, hopefully not, actually changes into something with good production, or at least good value, but something you can also be build upon. And if we transition, or when we transition, it's one of those things that everybody can kind of follow with, instead of maybe jumping off, if that makes sense.
Exactly. No, I agree. Well, and it's like Master says, everything's a baby step. As long as you're taking steps forward, you take that first step, you did the first thing, and you just continue going forward, you can only build more with each step.
Right.
So, it's definitely a learning curve for both of us, but it will change and it will grow as we continue doing this.
Agreed. And I guess we can kind of leave maybe homework for the viewers. I mean, figure out what figure out what kinks you like, or kind of what made you kink in the first place. So I guess the shameless. Actually, we don't even have no handles. I can't do a shameless. Yeah, a shameless subscribe, share. Yes. If there's something that you liked or got a kick out of, or just kind of want to see how we do, please. Give us some love is the nice way to put it.
Yes, definitely give us some love. Remember to be respectful in the comments, because this is about learning and growth, and it's not about how rude you can be.
No cussing. No cussing in the chat.
I say that as I think I've cussed on this podcast already.
And I guess we got the days right. It's going to be Sunday and Thursdays. So that way you get one for, the start of the week, and then you get one going into the weekend.
Sounds great.
So, but this is Edwin.
And Coco.
We are signing off, and we will see y'all next show.
Adios.
Bye.